Here we have a Nintendo Switch that came in for no power and the console does not charge. I have a battery plugged in and we're going to plug the charging cable right over here. And if we look at the charging station, the screen is black. Black is a very good indication that we may have a short somewhere on the board. Let's disconnect. And we're going to inspect the motherboard and see what's going on. We're going to start with the battery connector here. Then we have the Joy-Con connector. And then we have the BQ area. And while we are looking at the BQ area, why not test it? Okay. Meter in diode mode. We're going to test all the caps here. This one does not look too good, but it's measuring good. This one is measuring good. 0.5 voltage drop, 0.51 voltage drop, 0.57 voltage drop. Oh, we should get around 0.5 voltage drop here, and I'm getting 1.1 voltage drop. We have a problem. And the problem is likely not the BQ chip. From experience, I know the problem is all the way over here. And the reason I know this is because one time we had a short here. I injected voltage at this capacitor and this chip went hot this here. And since then I know that this is linked with this. You do not just get this information by searching. Trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. Working on switches every day, you start to figure things out. But I could be wrong. Maybe the problem is this chip. I highly doubt it, so we're going to start with this one. We're going to put a pre-cut silicone pad here. And those pads, they are sold in a jar. A lot of you already bought them. They look something like this, 100 pieces inside, and they block heat. They're really good. If you do not already know, you can purchase the pads off our site. Just log into NorthridgeFix.com, click on shop, and all the tools that we use are on there. Everything is in stock, and we ship everything out almost the same day. Unless the order comes in late, then it will be packaged and shipped the following day. Pin number 1 is on the bottom left. Just before we start desoldering the chip, why not measure some of the caps around? Let's go to diode mode and we're gonna measure the capacitors at random. Oh, look at that, we have a short here. Let me measure in resistance mode. 0 ohms, so that's short. 0 ohm, that's short. Back to diode mode. Yeah, I think we definitely have a problem with this strip here. A lot of caps are measuring for a short, and I think we made the right decision to start with this one. Like I said, the reason I started with this one first is based on my experience working on the very same issue before. You can desolder half the board and figure out the problem, or have experience and do it in 1 minute. It only took you a minute. How much are you charging? Every day. I'm charging the same price if it takes me 10 hours or if it takes me a minute. That's how I make money. I do the job quick. That's how experience pays. Instead of the job taking you an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to figure out, you do it in 10 seconds, in 1 minute. Otherwise, how will experience benefit you? It has to benefit you somehow. The benefit is that you do the job faster and you get paid the same amount of money. we're gonna add leaded solder over unleaded so we can lower the melting temperature of unleaded, the solder balls on the pads here, and that will make the wicking process a lot easier. Right now, if we try to wick unleaded solder, we're gonna struggle. And right now we're going to use our signature technique using a wick and hot tweezers to desolder those solder balls off the board. And we can go over this just one more time. Make sure everything is nice and clean. Right, and beautiful. Now we're gonna apply some flux and we're gonna solder our new chip. And we're gonna place that silicone pad right over this connector so we do not accidentally burn it. And pin number 1 should be bottom left, as I have the board oriented. All right, so just take a deep breath. Just like that. All right. The chip is soldered. Remove the silicone pad. Check on our connector here. Perfect. And now we're going to go back to the BQ area and check to see if we still have a 1 voltage drop reading on this cap. Meter in diode mode. And surprisingly, we still do have a 1 volt reading, voltage drop. What if we measure shorts around here? There we go. Just a minute. So the problem is not the chip that we replaced. Let me just quickly take a look at the charging connector. Whoa, 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 whoa. The charging connector is bad. We do see the damaged pin on the right. How did I miss this? Talk about experience. How did I miss it? The first thing I do when working on Nintendo Switches is I check the charging connector. Today I just went by my gut feeling, based on my experience getting a 1 voltage drop reading on this cap. It's almost always the chip that we replaced. I did not even bother looking at the charging connector, and that's very bad. Maybe this is a lesson for myself and for everyone that anytime we are working on a switch or any device, the first thing that we do is check the charging connector. I could have saved myself the time and hassle, and we lost the chip, where the problem is really the USB-C connector. So let's go ahead and desolder the USB-C connector, replace it. Let's apply some low melt solder here. And low melt solder lowers the melting temperature of unleaded, so it's a lot easier to desolder the connector. And right now I'm using the NorthridgeFix board holder to hold the board, because the Nintendo board is weird in shape, and the NorthridgeFix holder is the only one that I can hold the board without any issues. We have magnets 2, 4, 5 magnets, and the board is solid in place. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna apply heat right over here, and we're gonna push down on the connector, and we should be able to desolder this USB-C connector. And right now, if we apply heat, we can see that low melt solder is soft. And the port is already falling from this side. Look at that. Oh, it's already down. It already fell. By itself. We did not even have to push the port down. It fell by itself. And right now it's a lot easier to desolder the holes since we have low melt inside and not unleaded. I need a bigger tip. You do not want to desolder a big hole using a small tip. It's not going to work out. Even if you have temperature at 2000 degrees Celsius, it won't work because heat transfer is minimal. So we switch our tip to a bigger one and we press down, and look at that. You have to know your tools. You can spend the whole day trying to desolder one hole using a small tip and it's not going to work out. And you give up. Why is this not working? Knowledge is power. Apply leaded solder. We're going to have to pre-apply solder onto those pads. Very nice. Now grab a new connector, and you can find everything that I'm using here on our site. The connector, flux, tweezers, solder, the braid, hot air station, soldering stations. We are out of stock right now, but we are expecting shipment in about 10 days. Okay, and now we're gonna have to use our board holder again. Can you say board holder 10 times quick? Board holder, board holder, board holder. How come you do not burn that connector when applying heat? The answer is you're not born with that skill. It comes with practice. I do not have any magical powers, but I know my hot air station. I know how much heat I should be on. I know how far my hand should be from the connector. I know when to pull off. And that only comes with practice. There's nothing I can tell you that will make it easier or magical. You have to practice. And I'm talking for those who are in the same business, or they want to get in the same business, or it's a hobby. Now, let's see if all the pins are solid. Solid, 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 solid. And every single pin is super solid. All we have to do is solder the back. And we're all good. Clean up and test. And look at how solder flew nicely to the other side. Here and here. We have a very solid connection. A good working motherboard should show up as 12 volts, and then after a few seconds, switch over to 9.1 volts or 9 volts. And that will be a very good indication that the motherboard is fixed. If the motherboard is stuck at 12 volts, that's not good. And the numbers I'm telling you are based on the charging station that we have here. Are we gonna get something on the screen? Still, nothing. Why? Nothing. Let's measure and see what's going on. Let's go ahead and check the BQ area once again. We may have to replace the BQ chip. I'm starting to run out of options. We still have a 1 voltage drop at the BQ cap. Let's remove the BQ chip. And then after the BQ chip, if the console still does not work, we're gonna have to replace the M92 chip. If that still does not work, then we're gonna deem the device a no fix, possibly CPU related issue. I did not even measure at the M92 area yet. Let's measure and see if we have a short anywhere here. Oh, we do have a short here. I mean, two things we did wrong today. I did not fully inspect the board before starting to work on it. I just jumped and replaced that chip, and that was based on my experience working on this very same issue. If I would have inspected that connector first, I would have changed this connector, and then possibly later realized that we also have to change this chip. So we did the extra work of replacing this chip here. Right now there's a possibility that we may also have a problem with our P13. Let's measure the cap under the chip just to see if we have a short here. And we do not have a short. Most likely our P13 is good. So right now the only thing that may be wrong with the board other than the USB-C connector is this M92 chip. You like longer videos? You got it. And here we have a brand new M92 chip. Now all we have to do is just press down, apply heat, clean up and test. And let's see. Will it work? Plug the battery right here. And we're gonna plug the charging cable, the USB-C cable. And are we gonna get 12 volts and then switch over to 9 volts? Or are we gonna get nothing? Like we are now, nothing. Nothing. I cannot believe it. A fix that I thought will take me a minute is turning into a nightmare. Let's cover up this connector, desolder the chip. And see what happens. But honestly, from my experience, a 1 voltage drop reading is not caused by this chip. We're gonna remove it and measure again. Meter in diode mode, and let's measure right over here, and we still have a 1 voltage drop. Still no change. So most likely the problem is not the BQ chip, most likely. And what if we measure those caps again? No short, no short, no short, no short, and no short. So this area is good. We had a short before, now we do not. We are good here. And charging port. Let's go over the pins one more time. And the pins are good. Let's go ahead and replace the BQ chip anyway, since we already removed it. But I'm honestly running out of options. If this does not work, then we're gonna deem it a no fix. We spent enough time working on this board. I have 6 million other things that we need to get done, and I cannot just keep working on one board when I do not see light at the end of the tunnel, or I feel like the device is a rabbit hole. I give up on it. We did not give up on this board easily. We changed the USB-C connector, we changed the M92 chip, the Max chip, and now we are changing the BQ chip. We cannot change every chip on the board. There should be a limit on how much time we can spend on one device. Let's get rid of the axis, then we can go over it again. All right, then we're all good. We're all good as far as soldering the chip. Remove that silicone pad. And beautiful, the connector is intact. It was not affected by heat. Those pads are a lifesaver. Best thing I have here. What happens if we test now? And of course we still have a 1 voltage drop. And if we plug the battery and test using the cable, black screen. That's it. We're gonna end the video right here. I hope you enjoyed it, even though it's a no fix. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and we'll do something else in the next video.